Hello, and welcome back to Chakras and Cuss Words podcast. I'm so glad you are here. My name is Catherine. I am the podcast host of Chakras and Cuss Words podcast. And today's episode is all about the astrology. Most of the astrology reflection for September, but also we're going to take a deep dive into some of the dates we should be paying attention to for the month of October. So for those who are interested, I know this episode is coming out pretty, at the end of September. It's going to be published on September 25th, 2023. It's currently right now, September 24th, 2023, and it's about 2:36 p.m., 14:36 p.m. if you want to be super into, I guess you could say, 24-hour time or military time. And we're going to just get into this. I will go over some of the dates that I missed in August as well, because like always, I do try to record these podcasts out just a little bit sooner before the actual month happens. And then I try to provide the reflection. So I'm excited you guys are here. I feel like September is just moving past us like in a blink of an eye. I feel like we have made it to the next season as we just have passed the entryway of the autumn equinox, and now we are preparing for winter. So the seasons are definitely changing. Today, I just got home from visiting my sister and my stepbrother and the babies. Both of them have babies, and I was wearing like a little summer dress, and I was like, ooh, it is chilly already. It is already chilly out here in California, and it's starting to get a little bit cooler where we are seeing this cooler breeze type colder area. So as we're transitioning into the seasons, we can already feel it with the solar plex, right? With the solar sun, and that area of warmth is kind of diminishing away. So let's get into September's dates. I will tell you that I am going to reflect right now on August, some of the dates that I missed from the last podcast recording. So on August 27th, we had Mars enters Libra. And what I thought was interesting about this day is it felt very like entertainment centered, but it also felt very volatile in some of the energy. So 3 U.S. Marine were actually announced dead in a military aircraft crash right out in Australia. And that happened around 11:13 p.m. Eastern time. Also, when we see that energy of Mars, we see that energy that feels a little bit volatile and spontaneous. And it feels like a lot of energy towards areas with the Libra. We would think areas of like relationships, but also areas surrendered with like social justice and area placements of what is next in a bigger and broader span when it comes to like partnerships. So I thought that was kind of interesting with the energy of the aircraft, like of what could be happening with certain interpersonal partnerships and also business aspects. Also, there was a tropical storm. There's been many tropical storms. I will be honest, I started to kind of fall off of a lot of the weather activities that were going on unless they were making news that I was watching. So I didn't do a huge research of a lot of the weather movement, but there was a tropical storm, believe Ida, and it moved toward the Florida Gulf Coast. And then also around this time, we had Uranus goes retrograde in Taurus, which I thought was interesting because we saw a lot of area of like rebellion. And this was on August 28th with the climate and also anti-capitalism, and activists blocked the Burning Man party in Nevada, which I'll be honest, like the Burning Man is just, I feel like it's just a I don't know, like a super expensive rave that people are like, probably dropping acid or doing shrooms, and they're just out there living this wild time listening to music. I know people who go to Burning Man, and the activists were like, hey, this is like messing up the environment. And it gets a little tricky, as we'll see as the dates go on, what happened at Burning Man. But also, it just feels like almost like it's turned into this area where it's turned into like this capitalist adventure, like for elite ravers to go to Burning Man, right? Like, this is like a spiritual awakening for people who are into partying. And I don't know. I've never been to Burning Man, so maybe I'm being a little petty, but do as you like, do as you please. But I don't understand. Like, why would you want to go out there and drop a whole bunch of drugs and then act like you're like on some like spiritual different dimension and live like you're camping? And I mean, the costumes are cool, but I don't know. It's just, to me, it doesn't seem like practical. It doesn't seem like it makes sense, and it seems like it's turned into this huge commercial event. But who am I to say? I'm just a nurse, but I do know a lot of nurses and doctors that go there. So also, around this time, with the Hurricane Ida, it was also asked for people to evacuate out of Florida as well. And what's interesting about that Uranus energy is we see that energy of the collective, the friends, that area of the groups and like social awareness, especially like with the activists saying, hey, Burning Man is such a bunch of bullshit. Like, stop, you're messing up our earth by having all these fires and burning all this stuff. It's like, what are you guys doing for global warming? And how is this like some spiritual manifesting? It's just a freaking rave in the desert. That's all it is. Like, where is the actual preservation, right? Like, if you guys really gave a shit about anything that meant anything, why are you guys out there in like faux fur and hippie hippie attire, and you're freaking have these massive fires? Like, we have our own massive fires that we need to basically have more awareness to with global warming, instead of people like just dropping acid and creating more havoc on the planet. So I'm like definitely seeing, like, I hope some people have that social awareness that came up with the climate, and also the anti-capitalist activists saying like, this is all wrong, stop doing this, right? And then what's also interesting is right around on August 30th, we have a full moon in Pisces, and Mitch McConnell, he did that freeze again. He did that freeze in Kentucky. In Kentucky, I guess he was doing some type of speech or Congress type thing, and he basically froze again. So of course the internet went freaking crazy with the memes. They're like, I think because this is his second time, and they're saying like they're not strokes, they're not TIAs. I mean, obviously they're not strokes for anybody who's medical, but they're not TIAs. They're there's no dementia. I mean, like, how old is Mitch McConnell now? Like, he has to be extremely, like, is he 90? Like, I feel like he's got to be close to, like, how old is he? He's got to be close to. And what's funny about him is this was right around the full moon in Pisces, and his birthday is literally February 20th, which either makes him a Pisces or it makes him an Aquarius at the highest degree, where he's getting ready to transition over to Pisces. But let me see what they actually say his zodiac is, because I feel like I don't know the time of his birth or anything, but let's see what do they have him as? They actually have him as a Pisces. So he's a Pisces, and he literally froze on the full moon in Pisces. I need to stop laughing, but it's time to say, like, these old fucks need to retire. Like there needs to be like term limits. Like, what is going on? How old is this guy, and why is he still giving us advice, right? Like, how old is he? He's 81. So he's actually younger than what I thought he was, but still at 81. I mean, and I'll be honest, in work, I see some people who are in their 90s and late 80s that look good. But if he's freezing in public where they're like, hello, is anybody there? Yeah, no. No. It's time for grandpa to take a nap. Like, it's time for him to retire. And he did this for like 30 seconds. And the internet had a fun time with it. And then we have the full moon in Pisces, right? And that's like a lot of illumination right in his first house. So of course there's going to be questions of what's going on. And I see this as an ending when we look at that spiritual energy of the Pisces, endings and healings and closures. Papa, it's time to wrap it up. Papa. Let's go to bed now. Okay, so September 3rd, we had Venus goes direct in Leo. A typhoon hit Taiwan. Not good. A lot of people were injured. A lot of people were pronounced dead. Just not good for the country of Taiwan. Also, what's interesting about this Venus goes direct in Leo is when we look at the energy of Leo and we look at that energy of feeling very, I would say the Leo reminds me of that area that feels like almost very dominant when it comes to like spaces that reflect the leadership. And we know, like, with Venus, it's centered around a time of like beauty and like expression, and also that energy of like wealth and finances, because Venus does rule Taurus, and it has that energy of like values and interpretations. And then we have such a dominant feminine planet going completely direct in such a vibracious sign as Leo. And it really made like a full energy that was surrounded around like this horrible event come to light. And also like the area of like children, because obviously children were killed in this typhoon. And there was that energy of, how are we going to bring this back? And it kind of like made me think of Hawaii a little bit when I was reading about it. And it kind of made me think of like that space of how do we bring back like that legacy. And to me, I always feel like that energy of legacy around Leo, and it feeling very like bold. So a very sad day for the people of Taiwan, and also for the people who have family there. So that was something that I thought was interesting, that Venus goes direct around that time. Also on September 4th, we had Mercury in Virgo trine Jupiter in Taurus. So again, we see that earth element coming along, especially with the Taurus energy. And what we had was a rescue mission of a sick expedition member from the Antarctic. And they were actually able to rescue him, and he survived. And then we had the Beyonce birthday party / concert for her Renaissance tour. And I believe that one was actually in Los Angeles. And that's when the Kylie and Timothy Chalamet kind of broke the internet, and they were all kissy kissy and lovey dovey. And with this, which is interesting for me when I was looking at it, trying to look at it from a like an astrological point of view, is we have Beyonce, who is a Virgo. So this is her birthday event, and we have Mercury in Virgo trine Jupiter in Taurus. And Kylie, right, literally before this happened, we have Venus goes direct in Leo. She's a Leo sun. And I'll be honest, I didn't even look up Timothy's zodiac. I barely even knew who this dude was. So we have that energy of Kylie kind of, putting her relationship out there. A lot of people believe that one of the reasons why she decided to put her relationship out there a little bit more and make it more public, because so many people were like, Timothy Chalamet is too good for Kylie. And I think she wanted to like show that off and get that communication going. And we see that with the Mercury and Virgo trine Jupiter and Taurus, especially that energy of the relationships and that energy of wealth and like finances. But like I don't know why people think like Timothy Chalamet or whatever his name is like this super sophisticated young actor that's like, I would never date Kylie. I mean, obviously he's smooching her all over the Beyonce concert. And what I thought that I didn't like about this event, and also I see that energy of Mercury in Virgo trine Jupiter and Taurus. Like, yes, this was like Beyonce's big performance. I believe Diana Ross was there. Like, it was just like her birthday extravaganza. And then Kylie's able to take that area of media. She's able to take that area of like gossip and own it, where then nobody was talking about like what a great performance it was. I mean, I'm sure people were, but it seemed like all the headlines were like Kylie and Timothy locked lips at the Beyonce concert. And that's all we heard about, right? And it was Beyonce's birthday concert. But apparently, Kylie is, showing off this relationship, and Beyonce is okay with it. If I was Beyonce, I would kind of be a little irritated, but that's just me. On September 4th, we have Jupiter goes retrograde in Taurus. And what's interesting about this day is here we go again with that area of the Taurus and Jupiter, right? And then we have this energy. Remember, Jupiter is about expansion. It's really about that area of creating luck and abundance, and it puts the energy out there, and it's kind of taking a step back. And then we see it in Taurus, and Taurus is all about like finances and talents, right? And Mila Kunis, this whole Danny Matterson with Ashton Kutcher. And basically one of the articles that came out is, okay, so Danny Matterson, he was on that 70s show with Mila Kunis, however you say her name, and Ashton Kutcher. And he is basically got sentenced. So that 70s show actor, Danny Matterson, just got sentenced for 30 years for raping 2 women, right? And what's interesting about this is he was accused back in 2017 of raping 3 women in separate incidences between 2001 and 2003, when that 70s show was still on the air. And that's just like the shit that some of these celebrities get away with. I'm like, what? Okay. And he was charged again in 2020. The actor who played Stephen Hyde pleaded not guilty to all of these charges back in 2021, and he went to trial, and it was declared a mistrial back in December 2022. After the jury was deadlocked, they couldn't really come up with an agreement of what happened, and then finally, he got convicted for his 3rd rape. And then he was finally sentenced. Well, this, and Jupiter goes retrograde. So it just makes you wonder, like, this area of self-influence and resilience and like of materials and sensual pleasures with the Taurus finally like coming to a step back by Jupiter going retrograde. So then he gets sentenced. I mean, it's interesting when we look at it like with that energy of the Taurus, because to me, the Taurus has like that energy of values where we don't really see that with all of the transits, but it has, you know, that energy of values, especially when it comes up with like money. And it's like, finally, he is not only found guilty, but he is now actually sentenced. And what's interesting about his chart is when I look at it, he too is the sun in Pisces. And it makes you kind of wonder, like, what is going on with these Pisces, right? We have Mitch McConnell, and then we have Danny Mathers, who is hitting some transits, right? And obviously he's way sick in the head, and he needs to be locked away. And what's interesting is Miss Kunis was 14 when she was on that show. And a lot of people are like, you need to be speaking up about this. And it was even noted that him and Ashton had like this bet on that area of like who would kiss her, or if he would French kiss her on the show. And she was like 14. So that's really disturbing. And then you see that area of like unresolved issues when we look at the Pisces. So his unresolved issues are finally like being addressed during this Jupiter retrograde in Taurus. So I was like, okay, yes, about time. So on September 6th, we have Sun in Virgo conjunct Mercury in Virgo. And this was an interesting day because the possibilities of having 2 women presidents or candidates is very possible for Mexico right now. And it was announced that the 2 top candidates are women, and almost half of the continent of Latin America, including Brazil, has already elected a female head government, except for Honduras and Peru, who currently already have 2 women presidents. So if Mexico might actually become one of the leading nations of the nation's countries to have a woman president. So this might actually take place. And then when I see that energy of the sun in Virgo conjuncts Mercury in Virgo, we have to look at like Virgo is the maiden, right? Virgo is that domestic maiden, it's that domestic goddess energy, but also we have to look at that energy of conflict and that energy of the duality, because we have to remember that Virgo also is ruled by Mercury, but then Virgo is also has energy with Chiron, and it's also considered like Chiron is like a ruler of Virgo, and that energy of healing and that energy of preservation, especially around the feminine. So I thought this was amazing that this article came out right around the sun in Virgo conjunct Mercury in Virgo. And to me, I always say like Virgo reminds me of like this feminine goddess energy, this area of like where environment and improvements and habits and like daily rituals really comes out. And especially with the communication that's surrounding the energy with Mercury and it being in a full conjunction. What's also interesting, and it wasn't really a happy day, but it was definitely a day where when we are talking about the feminine of motherhood and that energy of motherhood, Kourtney Kardashian, who is a Virgo stellium, because I've read her birth chart before, and she does have a lot of Virgo energy, but she is an Aries sun. And on this day, she went into urgent fetal surgery, and she ended up opening up about her experiences. So it's believed that this is the day that she opened up about her experiences of having to do this urgent fetal surgery. And she posted it on her Instagram along with like this black and white photo, and it showed her medical bracelet, and she was holding Travis Barker's hand. And she wrote, "I will forever be grateful for my incredible doctors for saving my baby's life." And a lot of people were speculating like what is going on with those two, because Travis Barker was on tour. I believe he was in Europe. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have all the like facts written down, but I believe he was in Europe, and he was doing the Blink 182 tour, and then all of a sudden he got like an urgent matter was happening and he had to leave, and everybody was like speculating, is it his dad, because he has an older dad who's I guess been going through some health problems. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, is it his dad? Is it Courtney? Like, what is going on with him? And I hope, he's okay. And for Courtney's chart, what's interesting about hers is that she has not only that energy of her Saturn in Virgo, but she has that area of her North Node in Virgo, and she has a lot of energy towards making like a new home, right? Making like a new life right now. And for that to be like completely shooken up, and that area of her feminine, because when I think of motherhood, like motherhood is the whole thing of the feminine, right? Of that whole energy of the feminine. So as I'm looking at her chart right now, I take back that she's a stellium Virgo, but she does have her Saturn and her North Node in Virgo. And what's also interesting is her Chiron is in Taurus. So that energy of like the wounded healer energy to be happening with so many current transits right now with Taurus. Jupiter goes retrograde in Taurus. And then that energy of having to have this emergent fetal surgery. So also what happened around this day is we had flooding in Greece. So that was one of the weather incidences that I was able to keep track of. So some major flooding in Greece. That was really talked about again with Virgo. We have that earth element. And then also on this day, Danny Matterson, he was getting a lot of, I guess you could say, it was all over the blogs. It was all over the celebrity commentary about what was happening with him. And what was interesting that I didn't really know was that he was in the Church of Scientology. So I thought it was very interesting that on September 7th of 2023 is the actual day that he was sentenced for the 30 years in prison. So all that time of just like almost like, I guess that's what Scientology does, right? And I'm like starting to feel like they are so much of like a cult versus like a religion. But I guess maybe like all religions are kind of like that cult aspect, right? So we have the Sun in Virgo conjunct Mercury in Virgo on September 6th. And then that's when that energy of the whole was Mia Kunis and Ashton Kutcher in that area of possibly writing letters for him right around this time on September 8th. We have the Sun in Virgo trines Jupiter in Taurus, and I'll talk about that a little bit too. So his trial has really been taking a lot of attention in the news. So it's interesting during this time that we're finally hearing about it. But yeah, Scientology, I feel like they really protect their members. And it's kind of disgusting because a lot of people feel like Scientology is just a cult, like a way crazy cult. Okay, so, and then we have, Saturn and Pisces, which is currently retrograde. And Saturn, we have to remember, is all about like that area of spiritual presence, that area of like isolation, of that energy in Pisces with that energy of restriction. So I do feel like this is very cultish, and I feel like with Scientology that I hope they continue to talk about it more, and like there's more investigations about like what the hell is going on over there. Okay, so around so September 8th we had Sun and Virgo trine Jupiter and Taurus. A lot of Virgo, of course, and Jupiter and Taurus aspects during this time. Around September 8th, Mexico City had a sweeping decision that they would decriminalize abortion, which is amazing for many of the people of Mexico, right? Many of the women in Mexico. So that it was once like a very, very, Mexico still is a very, very Catholic based country, and it's very dominant Catholic, but it's now becoming more, I don't want to say liberal, but it's now becoming more fair for women's rights, right? And I feel like most women who have to have an abortion, for the most part, aren't just doing it, as birth control. So I feel like for the ones who have this area where they are no longer being criminalized and they can seek to have an abortion, that's amazing. So I'm going to read this little article for you. So it was a sweeping decision that once would have seemed almost impossible out of this Catholic dominant country, where women were basically jailed for ending or terminating their pregnancy. However, Mexico's Supreme Court declared it unconstitutional for the federal government to criminalize abortion. It was a huge victory for the people who believe that a woman's right to have an abortion is a huge push for equality for women, especially with all the new legislation, like especially here when we look at the new legislation here in other states. I'm in California, so other states, you can be held criminal, you could be held accountable for having an abortion. And we hear of doctors now not wanting to perform abortions on women who need it for medical necessity. I've seen many articles about this, and I really wish that people would understand that the majority of women who are seeking abortions is because they need to, either physically, mentally, emotionally. We don't know what has happened, right, with how this woman ended up pregnant. So, yep. So good for them. And then we look at that energy of the goddess, right? That energy of the Virgo, trine Jupiter and Taurus. So this was a huge expansion. So Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, like I said, these two have been all in this damn drama with their damn ex co-star, say that they were sorry for the pain and trauma they caused by writing character letters. So people were literally ripping these two to shreds for them writing character letters for Danny Matters. And I don't remember if Ashton Kutcher was in Scientology at one point, but I know he was supposed to be held some type of advocate for the sexualization of women in Hollywood, and also that energy of the Hollywood, I guess you could say elites using young girls. Or I know he did a lot of advocacy work, so a lot of people were really thrown back by this. And I'll be honest, I don't know Ashton Kutcher's birth chart. I don't know his wife's either. But then again, that sun in Virgo trying Jupiter in Taurus, that energy of values coming back, and now they need to apologize for this. That energy of what was seemed like a good move in the beginning because you were trying to protect somebody who had some kind of material possessions with, right? That energy of the 70s show is like almost its own identity. We have to remember that certain things hold its own identity, and now you have to come to terms with that. And there was probably financial losses for them. And then when we look at that energy of Virgo again being tied into the area of self-improvement, so this was an energy of improving by becoming truthful. So I'm glad that they did apologize, but they possibly should have never wrote those letters to begin with. So on 9/10, Howard Stern slammed, I believe she's a Republican, Lauren Boebert, as a disgrace to this country for the graphic takedown this congresswoman had in this Beetlejuice date night. Apparently, she was in the Beetlejuice show, watching on a first date, and they were getting pretty frisky, and she ended up getting kicked out. So Howard Stern does what Howard Stern does and completely slammed her. And then we have that energy again of the Virgo, the maiden versus the whore, right? And Stern said, looks like she obviously was vaping because she got kicked out of the Beetlejuice show. But also looks like she might be grabbing his penis during Beetlejuice. Okay. So remember, again, that maiden and Virgo. Maiden, domestic goddess, or the whore, right? I get it was the first date. She's a congresswoman. She shouldn't be holding herself in that manner. We have to remember all eyes are always on us. And I can see how Howard Stern, has an opinion, whatever, but we see that energy of women always being judged, right? No matter what, we're always going to be judged. We're either a whore or we're this domestic goddess, one or the other, right? But most of us, I feel like, are a balance of both. So then on 9/11, we have the Writers Guild of America slams Drew Barrymore for talk of the show returning during the strike. They still have the ongoing Writers Guild of America and SAG-AFTRA strike is happening. And there was actually Drew Barrymore saying that she was going to return for season 4 of her daytime talk show. Whew, not a good move. And she is a Pisces sun, and I believe she's a Cancer moon. Democratic Republicans of Congo announced that there is this huge industrial mining for cobalt and copper that is basically used for rechargeable batteries, is basically having a lot of horrible circumstances that a lot of people are doing to to get down to these cobalt and copper minings, that it's not kosher. It's not like this industrial process. There are people literally slamming hammers into the earth, and it's young men are just all together, and there's a lot of human rights abuse going on, and everybody is paying a blind eye to it, right? And it's there's no accountability. And also there's talks that there might be this huge area of evictions in these like towns where the people come from. So it's going to take a lot of people to actually speak up and get some legal representation for these people, because it is like disgusting. It is basically modern day slavery. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but they are literally, and these are the batteries for our cell phones. These are our batteries for our electrical cars. Yeah. And these people are being used. I mean, it's just so sad. And then, of course, a new iPhone comes out like every fucking year, So we really need some human rights on how these people are being treated during this time, right? We have to remember we are all one. We're all one solar being. We're all one energy, and we all need to have human rights. We all need to have basic human rights. Like, it shouldn't be like these people are just forced into basically like modern day slavery for these big corporations. So the expansion of industrial scale cobalt and copper mines in the Democratic Republic of Congo has led to forced evictions of entire communities and grievance of human rights abuse, including sexual assault, arson, and beatings. In a report, Powering Change or Business as Usual. So my question is like, what can we do? What can people like us do, right? I mean, I guess we have to be aware is the first step, right? Being aware to what is going on in different areas of the world. Being aware. Also being aware of how we use these electronics, how we preserve these electronics so we aren't constantly feeding fuel to the fire. Also, what happened around this day, this was a lot of news around this time, was we had a man arrested for allegedly hanging banners threatening the singer Peso Pluma. So for those who don't know who Peso Pluma is, he's a Mexican artist. He sings about a lot of like kind of like love songs, not necessarily like reggaeton, but it's more centered around like I guess you could say the narcos of Mexico, like the cartel. It's kind of like this folklore storytelling. So he's actually had to cancel some of his shows. And it's starting to get kind of crazy, for him. And he has to really look at that energy, especially on this day. We had September 13th, Pallas enters Libra. That energy of the Libra, again, with what we see when we look at Libra: justice, harmony, fairness, and relationships. And this time, we have China legislators have proposed changes to a law that approved and allow authorities to find and detain people who wear clothes that hurts the nation's feelings, sparking new concerns over this communist country. Like, in all honesty, I'm like, what? I mean, but they are a communist country and they have very little freedom, right? And a lot of us know that about China, and it really sparks concerns. Like now people are, and I'm sure there's so much stuff when we think about China, but Pallas enters Libra. And when I think about Libra, I also think about like that area of like legal matters. So, I mean, it's not our country, I guess, I don't know, but definitely it's just sad. 9/12, aliens mummified in Mexico got like this hit got on the internet. Like these aliens were doing some type of I guess you could say UFO and UPO conversation or whatever you call it, like they used to, like they did here in the US in July, and they brought out these little mummified they say they're aliens. So, and so far there hasn't been anybody who said they're not. So the aliens are here, and I guess the most of us, we just honestly don't have the energy to care. I mean, and then you get into the areas of myth of, are they going to do the blue, what is it? The blue project or the blue, you guys got to look that stuff up. Are they going to say there's an alien invasion coming in, but it's really just a hologram? We will see. We will see. And then we have the MTV Music Awards, which I did watch because, I don't usually watch too much TV, but I wanted to watch that. They had Nicki Minaj, Shakira, Lil Wayne, Hip Hop 20 Years Tribute, and then Megan Thee Stallion, Bongo. And what's interesting is this is all right around Palace enters Libra. And they had Cardi B, they had Doja Cat, Paint the Town Red. And I will be honest, I like that Doja Cat song. And I liked her performance. I know everybody says that Doja Cat's like now a devil worshiper, satanic devil worship. But I'll be honest, her new album, everybody is saying is good. I think I'm going to buy it. But Palace, we have to remember, is that asteroid. It is this little asteroid that goes with Ceres and Juno and Vesta. And it's in areas of wisdom and the female spirit. And what was interesting about this music award is a lot of the people who were the top performers were women. Like Nicki Minaj hosted it, Shakira. Lil Wayne did do a cameo. But Cardi B, Doja Cat, Meg Thee Stallion, it was all like very women based. And we have Palace that represents that area of wisdom of the female spirit and that energy of like symbolism of the owl and the snake, right? And so it kind of makes you wonder, especially with Hong Kong, like that energy of the good and the bad, free, communist. You just, the things that go on in the cosmos and how we see the representation here on Earth. And then also this day was a high energy day because on September 13th, also we had Vesta enters Cancer. And Vesta is that other little asteroid. And Vesta is centered around the area of like nature, the service, the energy of, some might even see it like as intimacy, but associations with the area of maybe being a little bit more fiery. She is the goddess of fire, which it is very important, right? And is very important in areas of the home. And what was interesting about that was Vesta enters Cancer. That was the day that Pennsylvania murderer was captured, who like literally catwalked or Spider-Man walked himself out of jail. And everybody was looking for him. He was in jail for murdering I believe his ex-girlfriend. And then also we had floods in Libya, huge floods that so many people were killed in. And we see that energy of Vesta enters Cancer. So it's always good to pay attention to these high energy days. It's September 14th, the new moon in Virgo. New possibilities. So California Skittles ban. Okay, so we got to talk about the food industry is so fucking crooked. Like it really is. All the crap they put in our food isn't even legal in some countries. And why are we ingesting this, right? Why are we ingesting this? So the new moon in Virgo, let's look at new possibilities around the home. California Skittles ban advances to the governor's desk. Here's what it means for the consumers, according to the Los Angeles Times. If passed, this bill would ban both the manufacture and the sale of brominated vegetable oil, potassium bromate, profilobarbin, and red dye number 3. So these three ingredients are completely banned in Europe. Just banned. But while the red dye is only permitted in certain things like cocktail cherries, right? So that's not completely banned. But the other ones are. The Food and Drug Administration banned the use of red dye number 3 in cosmetics in the early 90s after lab testing showed it causes cancer in mice. If companies continue to use these chemicals, they will be fined $5,000 for the first offense and then up to $10,000 for every additional offense. The bill states the original bill included banning titanium dioxide, but it has since been taken off. Okay, that's okay, I guess, right? Let them have some things that can completely destroy our body. But yeah, so it's like, what? Why? What? Like, we need to come up with better standards. Why is this taking so long? Like, get this shit out of our foods. I'm sorry, but it just makes me, because as a young mom, I'm older now, I'm 45, but as a young mom, you're just trying to feed your kids, in all honesty, affordably. And people don't have the money to just buy everything organic. We don't. A lot of people don't have the money. And we don't have the money, and a lot of people don't have the time. We have a lot of working parents, and it's like the least they can do is get this shit out of the foods. I'm sorry, I get very passionate about it. September 14th was a day too that another high energy day with the new moon in Virgo. It was also a day that a lot of people saw the actual destruction of Libya and of the flooding. Like, it was shown on PBS, and it was massive. It was outright massive. Very scary, right? Very sad, scary that these people have gone through so much hardship with these floods. Like, the flash floods were unleashed and basically just took over the whole city. I mean, it's just horrible. On September 14th of 2023, TikTok and Billboard announced the launch of an official TikTok Billboard Top 50 chart, a new weekly chart comprised of the most popular songs on the platform in the US. And TikTok Billboard Top 50 chart is also available for all of the US on TikTok, right? So then that means you can use their music on TikTok. What's interesting is, like, where's the actual artist anymore? Like, that's why I think I'm going to purchase Doja Cat's album, because the art of being an artist, I feel like, is just gone. Nowadays, it's just who can do a little snippet for TikTok, and that becomes what's getting pushed down everybody's musical genre or algorithm. I've been honestly thinking about, like, disconnecting from social media. I know everybody's like, yeah, right, because I post so much, but there's been times I'm like, I don't look at social media. I research things on social media, but it's hard to, like, I try to research, like, certain current events for, like, this podcast, right? But it's hard to just separate the two, because you just get so engulfed in what everybody else is doing, what's going on, what are the top songs, and it's like, these aren't even songs. This isn't even, like, beautiful musical energy alignments. It's just trash. But if the song hits on TikTok, it becomes a winner. So I don't know. Okay, and then Jeannie Mae, who was married to Jeezy, who's a rapper, it came announced that they were actually separating, that they're actually getting a divorce. And I'll be honest, I didn't know who either one of them were until this story hit. And then I kind of got swept up in it. So Jeezy's a rapper. I feel like I've listened to his songs, but some of the controversy that came out with some of the stuff she was saying, and then also the fact that, there's no real insight on why this couple's getting divorced. Like, can't people just break up? Can't they just break up? But she did say some things that could be considered, I guess you could say, not very professional and also a little bit offensive. I mean, kind of like really offensive, especially to somebody who's married to an African-American man. And then for her to say, so she said that, and she's on a talk show. I think it's called The Talk. She says she loves black guys, but for me, dark meat on the side, white meat keeps me lean and mean. So that's what I like. So that's what she actually said when she was on The Real panel. Oh, I'm sorry, The Real. I don't know that show. And she was discussing her dating habits. This is when she was actually dating a white guy. Like, girl, you now have a biracial child. Like, what? I don't know. I mean, I don't really know if I like her or don't like her because I really don't even know who she is. So I thought that was interesting. And this is areas of communication kind of being shown right as we have this time as Mercury goes direct in Virgo. And then also when we think about Mercury going direct, we have to think about, again, Mr. Trumpster, everybody's favorite Gemini, him and Kanye. And Kanye's really been going around the news with him and his wife, Bianca Censori, in all of her outfits, where it basically looks like body gear, like body sheer gear, like Skims, but just like hosiery, like see-through, and people are saying she needs help. I don't know. Other people think Kanye's cloned. I mean, I'm just kind of like over these two. But former President Donald Trump said Thursday that he did not order a Mar-a-Lago staffer to delete security video at the center of the investigation. So, he's still in the presidential fight for his life to become president of 2024. So we will see what happens. Venus in Leo squares Jupiter in Taurus. And then right around that time, we have the automobiles in Michigan go on strike. And it's over 13,000 employees of three major companies, Ford, GM, and Jeep, are all on strike for fair wages. Also, right around this time, we have Ceres enter Scorpio. And Jeezy shared, the rapper who shared a quote on his Instagram that he's too focused on who I'm becoming to focus on who's not coming with me. So that's basically all he had to say about his divorce. And like I said, Peso Pluma was facing these death threats. And Tijuana police did arrest somebody, but around this time, he is actually canceling shows, and he literally just canceled another show on September 15th of Ceres enters Scorpio. September 15th, we have the Sun in Virgo trines Uranus in Taurus. September 16th, we have Venus in Leo square Jupiter, and this was the time that California sues 5 major oil companies and accuses them of deceiving the public over the risk of fossil fuel use. The state of California is suing the oil companies PB, ExxonMobil, Chevron, Shell, and ConocoPhillips and their trade groups. The American institutions basically say that over what the state says is a long-standing pattern of deceiving the public over the risk associated with fossil fuels and causing billions of dollars in damages in the communities. So most Californians know that the California government is really trying to push away from the use of gasoline cars. I believe they want us to go completely gasoline-less by 2030. So everybody's going to be driving electric, but we still have the electric crisis, right? We still have that crisis of power outages and heat waves. So we will see. I've come to the conclusion I'm probably never going to leave California, because I think once you move out of this state, it's very hard to get back in. It's extremely expensive right now. Just overall the price of housing. And it's just hard, but I'll be honest, whatever protects the planet. I mean, I know for some people they don't care because they're like, I'm going to be dead anyways. But my thing is, what about our species? What about our area of journey, right? Like, why are we killing the earth so bad? So Drew Barrymore, actually right around this day, Venus in Leo squares Jupiter and Taurus, reverses her decision. She received a lot of backlash from the strikes, from the unions. And Drew Barrymore actually changed her mind and said, guess what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I am going to respect the strikes. And the show will not return to air, she said. But who knows? She did tape new episodes during the strike, but I guess she says that she's going to hold off. And she's not going to bring back the show. Aubrey O'Day reveals that Sean Diddy Combs sent a NDA for Bad Boy label. So, if you guys didn't know, Mr. Diddy is a fucking snake. So he went on this huge campaign about how he's paying all his old artists back and and giving them back all this royalties and and all this stuff. Well, Aubrey O'Day is basically saying, we're not making any money now, right? Because so many artists are losing money because of streaming. They don't make the royalties back. They don't make it he literally give it back to them at the point where they're not even making any money right now. So of course he should have just gave them a back check. You know, if he really wanted to pay off the artist, he should have gave them a percentage of what the money that he made. But I honestly think that a lot of celebrities are struggling. I mean, P. Diddy shouldn't be struggling. He's a billionaire, but they all spend big. So when you spend big, you lose big. So he's going on this nice guy campaign. But Diddy, in his Scorpio ways, are not nice. And she noted that adding what's happening to the artists nowadays isn't really giving it back. It's not giving back anything. So this is what she put. O'Day noted that adding... So what's happening is the artists, some of them, not all of them, are being given streaming royalties and ownership back over their publishing on songs that we wrote at a time when you know that you have to stream a song 1 million times to make a cent. What? So he literally just gave all his artists a couple $100 and was like, okay, I'm doing right by my artist. No, dude, you're not. You are not doing right by them. You know, I will be honest, Aubrey O'Day, she is really speaking up about what has happened to her in the industry. And what's interesting about her is she said that if she took that money from Diddy, he made her sign a NDA. So basically meaning that she could never sell her story. She could never sell her story to Netflix, to anything where they would do a documentary about, her life, where she would be able to receive some type of royalties or receive some type of revenue from everything that she gave up at such a young age. You have to remember, she was in the MTV's Making of the Band in 2004. What I like about Aubrey O'Day is, honey, she is an Aquarius. So so she's, she's thinking it all the way through, completely all the way through. She has a moon in Gemini too. And also she's an ascendant in Sagittarius. And we have to remember that this happened right around the time of the Venus in Leo squares Jupiter in Taurus. So even though that energy of the square with Leo and Taurus in areas of finances, she's opposing it, right? Because she's an Aquarius. So that square is like in a conjunction for her. Like, it's like she's coming away with making, not a conjunction, but she's coming away with making some very smart decisions. Because if she would have took that money, she would have been screwed, because they would have basically took advantage of her. So hats off to her. Good job, Aubrey O'Day. And also on September 19th, we have the Sun in Virgo opposition Neptune in Pisces. And this is when dreams are definitely came to the end for Mr. Danny Matters and his Pisces ways, because his wife, Bijou Philip, files for divorce after being married to him for 21 years. Kim Kardashian and Odell Beckham are notably hanging out. And he is a Pisces moon. Kim Kardashian is a Libra, and I just went completely blank on what his actual sign is. I believe he is a Scorpio with a Pisces moon. Yes, I believe he is a Scorpio. He is a Scorpio. Yes, he is a Scorpio with a Pisces moon. I believe he has a Libra rising. I looked up his charts in comparisons to Kim. I think if Kim gives him a little taste, he might be there for the long run. Definitely hanging out. I don't know if Kim's ever going to remarry again. I mean, maybe. We will see. But Kim's a very assertive person. She likes to have her job. Like, Kim cannot be just somebody's wife, right? And finding a man that can compromise themselves for that is hard, is very hard. Also around this day, the Sun in Virgo opposing Neptune in Pisces, we have the Texas prisoner accused of killing the 22-year-old woman over 2 years. Basically, he was preying on them, and he would steal their jewelry and their valuables. He was killed by a cellmate, and he was serving a life sentence. Yeah. So, we have that energy of Pisces. You can't run from unresolved issues. No, you can't. You can't run from it. You're going to have to face it sooner or later, especially with the Sun in Virgo opposing Neptune and Pisces. There's a wake up from the dreams with this day for sure. So that was Billy Shemmer, a 50-year-old, was convicted last year of slaying 2 women found dead in his cell in the areas of Texas, rural prison, So it looks like somebody beat karma to the punch or whatever. But yeah. So on September 20th, Sun in Virgo trine Pluto in Capricorn. Lauren Boebert's fonding incident may actually have violated some of Colorado's public indecency laws, but an attorney said that she probably won't be charged. This congresswoman, she's just trying to get a little freaky deaky up in the Beetlejuice. I mean, and then she's is telling people this was the first date, which I was like, damn, this was a lucky first date for this guy. And he's not going to go on any more dates with her. But there we go. that dark secret energy of careers. And we have Sun in Virgo trying Pluto in Capricorn. Honey, I don't think she's going to be charged, but she was definitely having a fun time. The American Horror Story Delicate airs with Kim Kardashian, and the storyline is eerie. It's like, but everybody said Kim Kardashian did amazing in this performance. In the first day, I haven't watched it. I don't have Netflix, but I'll be honest, I'm thinking about, not Netflix, Hulu. I'm thinking about, I need to watch this, but I don't know if I want to pay to watch Kim Kardashian. Ugh. But anyways, I do like American Horror Story. The Covens were obviously the best. But it says that, you know, she's doing great. So hats off to Kim. But I will tell you, when I was watching this, and we all know the conspiracy of the Kardashians being a little witchy, or, you know, the curse, the Kardashian curse, right? But one of the things that stood out to me is it has this eerie storyline about, like, I believe Emma Roberts is trying to get pregnant in this movie, right? And then the whole thing that happened with Courtney, it's just creepy. To me, it just gave me a creep factor. Like, I don't know. Like, it just felt very either pre-programmed or very just creepy manifestations of creepiness. And there's certain things I will do. Like, I will definitely get a little witchy in certain things. But if you know your manifesting capabilities, I don't know. It just gave me, I'll be honest, it just gave me a very creepy vibe when I saw the trailer. And then I thought about Courtney. Okay. And we have that energy of Sun in Virgo trying Pluto in Capricorn. But also, I want to take a look at that Sun in Virgo opposing Neptune and Pisces, because right around September 20th, the fentanyl drug is just taking over this country. Like, I feel like it's going to be like the crack epidemic. I mean, it already, I don't know if it's going to hit certain communities that bad, but I mean, it has, like San Francisco, Hollywood, I mean, New York. People are just so strung out on drugs, and fentanyl is taking over over. A Bronx daycare, actually, a child passed away because 4 children were at the daycare, and one of the child who passed away was like very little, like only maybe like a year. And what's scary is 4 of these children, I can't remember, the lady who owned the daycare was using this as a cover up for them to sell drugs. It's just disgusting. And then she realized the kids weren't waking up. Well, she literally had fentanyl on the daycare mats, and the kids were crawling all over it. And then one of the kids passes away. So she calls 911, and they get there. And I guess when they get there, the officers and the rescue team notice like some drug paraphernalia, and they Narcan the kids. And 4 of them become more alert. So if you ever Narcan somebody, they become alert, especially if they're doing like opiates, right? They become awake, right? But one of them they couldn't save. But it's like, it's just so sad. You know, it is so sad. It's like you literally, I mean, I don't know. It is just so sad what drugs bring to the communities and to families who even have no intentions of doing wrong, of being in that shadow period, but they're just trying to like earn a decent living and go to work. And, you know, now we have to worry about, you know, daycares possibly being cover-ups for drug dealers. It's just so sad. Okay, I know I'm totally venting. Nicki Minaj, Cardi B drama. Nicki Minaj's husband, Kenneth Petty. And we have to remember, Nicki Minaj is a Sagittarius. Cardi B is a Libra. Kenneth Petty is basically placed on house arrest because he was trying to fight Offset, and he was like threatening him on camera. I can't even with this guy. Tristan Thompson was granted temporary guardianship of his 17-year-old brother, Amari, after the mother's death. I will say, hats off to Tristan Thompson and Chloe, because that is a very hard task of taking care of somebody who has disabilities. And there is one thing about Kourtney Kardashian that I personally will give her so much credit for. She literally cares about so many people. She has that big cancer zodiac, right? That nourishing factor. And she will take care of people. Like, she took care of Lamar, Tristan's brother. That's her. That's her, in all honesty. I mean, I'm not saying Tristan wouldn't, but I'm saying Chloe has an amazing, caring heart, and that cancer in her is really shining through. On September 22nd, we have Sun enters Libra. The Bob Mendez indictment, 3 takeaways, and we have to remember that Libra energy, again, with financial. So 3 takeaways on bribery charges against senior Democrat Bob Mendez, where he was receiving gold, cash, new Benzes, all that stuff, bribes. It's really coming out, right? According to the newly unsettled indictment, Mendez, a Democrat from New Jersey, was seen as using his influence in Washington to help 3 New Jersey businessmen. And they're all facing charges, his wife too. So that Sun enters Libra, a lot of areas of justice and relationships and marriages, we're going to see it. Then also on 9/23, we have the fall equinox that occurred. And another thing as we entered Libra season, which really stood out, is Usher and Kim Kardashian both made ways to become the Super Bowl halftime performers. So I understand Usher. I don't really understand Kim Kardashian. I'm not really sure what she's going to do, but they're both Libras. So welcome to Libra season. These are some days we need to pay attention to. I'm just going to read them pretty fast. September 25th, which is tomorrow, we have Mercury in Virgo trine Jupiter in Taurus. September 27th, Sun in Virgo opposing Saturn in Pisces. September 29th, full moon in Aries. Venus in Leo squares Uranus in Taurus. And then we have September 30th, Mercury in Virgo trine Uranus in Taurus. I will tell you, I don't know how you guys feel about these astrology date podcasts, because they have definitely become longer than what you guys are used to. So I would love to know, do you feel like this is too long? Perfect? Do you want to hear the reflections of the past dates, or do you just want me to give you what is coming for the current month? Let me know. I'm going to put a poll up. So please vote, because it's important to me to make sure you guys are enjoying this. So I want to make sure that it's not too long and you're like, does this chick ever shut up? Or if it's okay to go over the reflections, because it is getting long, especially when I start researching and looking at the astrological events for the past month. So let's get into the astrology for October. Okay, October, baby. Ha ha ha. Witchy bitches. Here we go. Okay, so October, everybody's got their pumpkin spice and they're ready. October 2nd, we have Mercury and Virgo opposing Neptune and Pisces. This is a beautiful time for us to look at our creativity and areas of reality, and also to step in our conscious circles. Also, this is a great time for us to look at our breakthroughs and what it is that we feel aligned with, not only in our conscious state, but also our subconscious state. It's also a good time for us to put our dreams in place, right? In an opposition, it might feel a little bit harder for some of us, but in all honesty, we could get through this and we can move towards it. And what's beautiful is right around on October 3rd, we have Mercury in Virgo trines Pluto in Capricorn. So it's a great time to think about, is this really our dream state? Is this our area of where it is we want to be in our life path, including careers, including jobs, including promotions? And I will tell you, for the rest of this month, I might be hitting you guys up with a lot of meditations. And I know the people who love the meditations love them, and the people who are just like, I'll move past it. I don't really want to hear a meditation. Don't feel bad, if you want to skip it. But I'm actually working on what we would see as a promotion for another level up. So I'm probably going to have to really devote some time to that. So that's another reason why I'm thinking about stepping away from social media a little bit, is so I can get all the paperwork, because there's a lot of paperwork I got to do, a lot of writing I got to do for my nursing profession. It is, like I said, to me, still my number one profession. I love nursing as a whole. So I will be doing that. So you guys will be getting a lot of meditations, but they're amazing meditations. And I'm also going to do, I think I'm going to do some new journal affirmations or prompts that will be centered around some new moons. So you guys will still get a podcast every month, but it just won't be a conversation piece. On October 4th, we have Mercury enters Libra. So this is a time that we're going to feel that energy of connections. We're going to feel that energy of focus, where we're going to focus on how we feel, especially in the relationships. And we want to focus the relationship of self as well, right? So taking the next weeks to finally stop worrying about everything being so freaking perfect. As long as we have balance and harmony, there's always going to be a rhythm to it, right? So just take that time to really establish it and establish your consciousness as we moved past the autumn equinox and we're now preparing for winter. So have that conscious state of how are you going to prepare for winter in the relationship, right? We also have on October 8th a very high energy day, as we have a Mars in Libra squares Pluto in Capricorn, and also Venus enters Virgo. So this is a time for us to stay in our direction, of how it is that we feel in the home front with our daily practices, and also how would we like to become a little bit more domesticated. I mean, let's walk away from the hoe side. No, just joking. Okay, that was a bad joke. Okay, so just walk away from areas that might make us feel unaligned and take in that area of domestication of the maiden, of the goddess for the weeks, and really hold it in, right? Hold in that relationship factor of feeling beautiful, feeling the self-care, feeling the energy of what is it that makes you feel so divine, and surrender to it. If that's like indulging in a beautiful like spa day, or if it's just like going outside in your garden or cooking like a home meal, but what it is in your daily practices that really lets you feel divine and feel like that goddess beautiful energy and take it all in. Also on October 10th, we have Pluto goes direct in Capricorn. So Pluto's going to hang out in Capricorn for a few more months, and then it's going to actually shift back to Aquarius. So I think this time with Pluto, we're going to see a lot of energy with the leaders. Maybe, Pluto goes direct, maybe some areas of transition. I'm kind of like wondering what's going to happen with Joe Biden. Like, is he really going to go all the way to the next presidential campaign? Is he going to take a step down? I mean, I know Joe Biden's in his 80s, and there's always been talk about his health, and there's always been talk about that. I mean, Donald Trump is in his 80s as well. So let's see. But Joe Biden is a Scorpio. So it's interesting because we do have a lot of energy around the Scorpio with the Pluto in Capricorn, and also in that energy of what is next for this presidential campaign. I mean, I know a lot of people are saying, no, he's going to run. He's going to do it. I just don't know. I honestly don't know, if he really is, or if somehow something's going to, I'll be honest, I'm surprised he did it this long. Okay, so Pluto goes direct in Capricorn. Mars enters Scorpio. So we're going to see the energy of the Scorpio. We're also going to see Juno enters Virgo. So this is a time where that autumn energy really kind of kicks in, right? This is a time to look into our mysterious state, our desires, especially with that energy of Mars enters Scorpio. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting how it is all going to play out, how it is. But it's a time that we're going to want to be feeling like a little bit more seductive, tapping into our dark feminine ways. Like we can always be that beautiful maiden, that domesticated maiden. But, it's sometimes we want to dress up and get a little, sexy with it. Definitely. And bring on that magic, right? And then also what's interesting is right around this time we have a new moon solar eclipse in Libra. So this is going to be a time that some of us might feel off balance. I don't recommend doing too many big manifestations for eclipses. I honestly don't think you should be doing any manifestations. You should just kind of be laying low, enjoying the time. Enjoying the energy of what it is that you're reflecting on. But people tend to see the eclipses as times that we accept or release our shadow state and live within that energy of being truthful and aware. So it's not like a great time to set off too many manifestations. I mean, I know I will be in the center of writing papers, but I'm not going to be doing any rituals. But it would be a good time for you to just look at some of the things that you would want to possibly not really make a full decision about, but maybe put it on the back burner, right? Like you just say, you know what, I'm just going to leave this alone right now. And let yourself own that. Let yourself own it and enjoy it. Also, we have Mercury. So this day is a high energy day. I'm going to say the days that are 2 days I would definitely pay attention to is October 13th and 14th. The Mars in Scorpio trines Saturn in Pisces. So there might be some conflict with this one. A lot of people standing up for what's right, standing up, seeing who's in their corner. There might be some energy of loyalty being tested. There might also be some energy of constriction, of dreams being tested. It might feel very fiery. It might also feel like some new rules are coming away, some new energies about higher self are coming away. It might be interpersonal rules. Another high energy day that I want to talk about is right around October 20th to the 21st. We have Mercury in Libra squares Pluto in Capricorn, Sun in Libra squares Pluto in Capricorn, Venus in Virgo trines Jupiter in Taurus. Whew. So a lot of major things just in those energy alignments, but then we also have Mercury enters Scorpio. So communication is going to feel very deep. It's going to feel very either connected or disconnected, right? With the Scorpio, we either feel like somebody's lying to us or somebody's being completely truthful with us, where they're letting us see their shadow state. They're letting us see that energy of where it is deep conversations, or is that deep energy of sharing what is the most intimate factor with you and what is the most intimate factor with them. And that energy either feels very aligned or it feels very secretive. We also have the area of Venus in Virgo trines Jupiter, which to me feels like a very mystical, especially as it's tied in with the Mercury in Scorpio. it feels very mystical and it feels like very romantic because this energy is going to be pulling us through into areas of romance. And the Venus in Virgo just feels beautiful. It just feels lovely, beautiful, and that energy of like getting lucky, right? Getting lucky in areas of creation. But then we also have the Sun in Libra, where it has this direct square with Pluto and Capricorn, which lets the resentment come up. And that energy of staying away from big egos or people who are very ego driven. So it's almost like an energy where we want to tap away from our ego and just step into a center that feels more mystical and mysterious versus a big ego energy. Also, we have the Sun enters Scorpio on October 23rd. So hello, Scorpio season. Let's see which Scorpios will be making the news. Let's also see which seduction and energy of mystery and energy of warmth and energy of that feminine water of the sacral, right? That feminine water of the depth of acceptance and deep connections. And it might be also a time for us to close some of those deep connections. Might be some time for us to close the area of lurking. There's some lurking going on. We're going to want to close that. We're going to want to close the energy of not being able to move past certain things. Let that energy die. Let that energy say goodbye. There's nothing wrong with endings. Endings usually come to new beginnings. So let that movement go. Also, another big high energy day is October 28th through the 29th. We have the Mars in Scorpio opposing Jupiter in Taurus, and October 28th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus. This full moon lunar eclipse, in all honesty, I would just let the healing happen on its own. Don't force, but don't force it, because sometimes when we try to force the healing process, it's very stubborn and negative, especially with the Taurus. And when we have the eclipses, like if there was something that you ever felt like grief or ashamed of, like just the other day, I felt like ashamed with some of my communication, and I held some reflection, because we have to remember, especially with this energy of Taurus, we have to look at areas of self-worth and possessions and material things. So it could also be centered around financial. So be careful how you conversate with people during this time. And remember that like when you are in a higher energy source, when you're in a energy where your awareness is a little bit higher than most people, and maybe you are in that energy of leadership, or you feel like you're getting frustrated, to sometimes just breathe, right? Sometimes just breathe and not hold on to being the one who has the last word. Sometimes for me, I always wanted to have the last word, and I was like, okay, maybe I don't need to have the last word. Maybe I just need to shut the fuck up and just be quiet, right? So let that area kind of hold space where you see, are you the one in your own frustrated presence? Are you the one in your own area of maybe the self-worth isn't fully picking up, or it isn't fully feeling aligned, or that area of grief, or putting yourself in a place where maybe you feel like you should have been somewhere. You should have been at a higher criteria, or you should have been on a higher energy source, right? Or you should have been at a higher value or level when we see it in the Taurus. Remember, this is our shadow state. So we're not really making like intentions, right? We're not really making intentions. This is our shadow state. This is our reflective state. This is the area that we're let go, right? We are accepting our shadow. And a lot of people think of shadow work and they're like, what's shadow work? It's being ultimately real with you, with your shadow, with who you are. Your shadow never leaves your side. We have to respect the shadow because that shadow is part of us. We have to give it our respect, but we also have to come in terms with it. Come to terms with what it is that we look at, what others look at, what we feel right with, what we don't feel right with, and seeing where we can either realign that shadow, because that shadow is never going to leave, realign it, or, figure out ways to live with it. Like I know with me, I get defensive. Ooh, honey, do I get defensive sometimes. And I have to remember that sometimes me getting defensive isn't what people see. They don't understand that that's my defensive mechanism. They see somebody who maybe gets a little smart in the mouth or gets a little bitchy or gets a little distant. So looking at the shadow state, not really repairing it because we are in shadow season, but just acknowledging it. Also on this day, we have Mercury and Scorpio opposing Jupiter and Taurus. So remember that area of communication, of the Mercury energy, of technology, of connection, of thoughts might feel a little bit harder. It might feel a little bit darker, right? It would honestly be a good day to stay inside. October 28th. Let's see what date this actually is. Stay inside, stay within the home, stay within the surrounding areas. When we get around Halloween, we have to remember October 28th is a Saturday. A lot of Halloween parties, a lot of energy where it is shifting. We have that dark energy of Hallows Eve, of Halloween. And while Halloween is that energy of the spirit, right? The spirits of the other side. It's not a time that we challenge our own spirit. It's not a time that we challenge. We can pay respects to our shadow. We can pay respects to that area of learning and moving past on certain situations. But it's not a time that we're going to stay stuck in trying to challenge or trying to oppose. Halloween has a lot of mystery behind it. I actually was thinking of doing spooky tales for Halloween for the month of October. But then I was like, I honestly don't know if I have time because I haven't started writing my papers. And this is something that I really want to do, going up for this increase. So I was like, I have to put something on the back burner, right? And that's something that I'm not going to be able to do. Maybe next Halloween I can write some spooky tales or tell some spooky stories, but I don't know if I will be able to. But this Halloween, definitely I'm going to be, passing out the candy to the kiddos and doing my witches theme, my witches party. But when we are coming up with that energy of the Halloween, we have to remember not to challenge the spirits, not to challenge our own energies, right? Not to challenge the stories of what was, right? What was once an area of dark and and just leave it alone. Leave it alone. And just kind of leave it alone. And Halloween, to me, I feel like it's one of the highest energy times, right? There's a lot of stuff that comes from Halloween. It is the time that people were preparing for a lot of people to pass away, because we were entering winter. And with winter, a lot of people pass away, a lot of people die. So it was seen as a celebration, right? In the Celtic festivals of Samhain. When people would light fires and they would get in these scary costumes. But it was then incorporated into the All Saint days with the church. But we do have to remember it came from an area of ritual of spirits, saints, spirits, whatever you want to say. So we don't want to challenge, right? We don't want to challenge, because I will tell you, the ones who have already learned, who have already walked through areas of now becoming deities and now becoming spirits and now becoming on the other side, will always win. Will always win. So we don't challenge that energy. We let that energy live. We let that energy have its time, but we don't challenge it. We acknowledge and we have the awareness. I mean, it's not the time that you want to be getting sloppy drunk, right? Yeah, you'd have your glass of wine. I'm going to have my glass of wine on Halloween, but I'm not going to get drunk, Be mindful. That is the time that the spirits walk. Then we also have on Halloween, Venus in Virgo trines Uranus in Taurus. Definitely some rebellious energy in the relationships, rebellious energy with wealth, rebellious energy all around. So take that time of that preservation, because we will see it in large groups. We will see it in large circle of friends, networks, where I always say, I was really thinking about going to the Doja Cat concert, because I'll be honest, I really like Doja Cat. And she's having a concert out here in San Francisco on Halloween. It's like, fuck, that's going to be badass. That is going to be badass. Yeah, I want to go. I want to dress in my little devil gear and go. But in all honesty, I don't think I would be able to make it. And also, I don't know if I want to be around that many people on Halloween. And I don't know if you could say I'm just being superstitious, but I'm like, I don't know if I want to be around that many. I mean, I'm sure she's going to go all out and it's going to be an amazing performance. But I just don't know if I want to be around that much energy. I am kind of like an introvert. I'm an extrovert who likes her introvert ways. And I don't really want to be around that many, pranks or tricksters or rebellious energy. I might just play it low key and just bump her music, right? So I want to thank everybody for listening to Chakras and Cuss Words, a podcast. And I am going to put the poll up of what do you think? Do you like the reflections of the month before? Or do you just want to hear the astrology dates for the current month in the podcast? So please vote. And everybody, I am going to put another question up too, which is a mystery question, and let me know what you think about it. What you think. And everybody have an amazing month of October, an amazing day. And remember, there's going to be lots of meditation. Maybe I might get time to do a little spooky story as a bonus episode. So make sure you subscribe and share this podcast out to a friend. Everybody have a great time. Thanks for listening. Bye.